and told us that he wanted to be Lucius and that he's like, Mom, I think I want to identify as a boy. I was like, okay, what does that entail? What do we need for transgender over transsexual? Because it's not about sex, it's about identity. Yes.
But he's only transgender with she was born as a daughter, but wants to be a son now, a man.
So yes, identifies as male. Yes. Transgender children are more successful when they're supported by their family and by loved ones.
I'm not a parent, obviously, and I hope I don't have a kid somewhere in the world. But like, how do you divide from accepting your son, but also at an age? Because like when I was 16, it's hard to make a decision that deep as I'm a whole different sex.
Harry Styles looks great in a dress.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that. They did want to be called something different, but that didn't really affect. At the end of the day, it doesn't really affect much. But what would you say be the first step so a kid comes to you and says, I am transgender? Like what would be your first tip to do to help the kid? 28, I feel more confident with myself and more just, you deal with like bullshit now than you do when you were 16. So
wait till you're 50. At 50, you just don't give a shit anymore. I see too many kids hiding who they are and their parents kicking them out on the streets with no place to go. And that's when you end up being a drug addict and losing your way.
The information in the podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please talk to a medical professional before doing anything that may impact your health. Hello, welcome to my podcast, to Mics One JoeySooch. I am JoeySooch, and I'll be giving a mic to Heather Von St. James. She's also the mom to a transsexual man. For anybody who may be confused, they are born as a girl, but feel as they are a man. Talking about the transsexual world is very new to me, and I'm going to assume that's new to you.
So newer. They prefer transgender over transsexual. They prefer the term transgender.
Yes, you are right. I am wrong. Yeah.
So, because it's not about sex, it's about identity.
Yes, transsexual, I think, is when you go from one sex and you convert your body into another sex.
Yes.
But he's only transgender with she was born as a daughter, but wants to be a son now, a man.
So yes, identifies as male. Yes. Non-binary field, more gender fluid to the male identifying. Yes. Yeah. So these kids, this generation is really, really unique in the fact that they're more open about everything and they're really honest about who they are. I'm a Gen Xer and we were taught to shove it all down, stuff it all down, hide everything. And, we were like the last generation that believed in the American dream. This generation, this Gen Z, this new generation coming up of these teenagers is so in tune with themselves that they talk about mental health all the time. They talk about not identifying as one gender or another. Gender is a social construct is what he's always telling me. I feel like I'm a guy. I want to be a guy. And so when he told us that he wanted to change his name from Lily to Lucius. I was like, good name. That's awesome. But we I always told him we will raise you female until you tell us otherwise, unless you tell us otherwise. So I was always open with him about, we wanted him to feel comfortable who he was 100% and that we were behind him and supported him 100%. So when he came to us last October, was it September, October, and told us that he wanted to be Lucius and that he's like, Mom, I think I want to identify as a boy. I was like, okay, what does that entail? What do we need to do? And so we got a medical team on board. And so we have, medical help and a great psychiatrist and mental health
You really went extra steps.
Absolutely. I want him to be 100% supported because it's not something that one just navigates easily on their own. He's got a great group of friends with a couple of non-binary and transgender friends, which is amazing. And their parents have been instrumental in helping me as well. But absolutely, you surround yourself with the specialist. And I learned that with my cancer journey. When you have specialists, your outcome is more successful. So we've already gotten, a gender specialist on board for the psychological part of it. Our medical doctor is amazing, and a psychiatrist on board that's helping with everything too. So when he starts on the hormone therapy and going down that road, he's supported 100% medically and psychologically.
Wait, so let's go backwards a little bit. So well, first I'm always confused. Like, do you call him your daughter? Like, I was born a daughter, and then you call him a son? Like you said, he was officially a man last year. Like, is there like a cutoff date, or do you always say it now? Like, I was born a son. Like, how did that work? Like,
well, if you ask him, he'll say I was always a boy. Okay. I was always a boy. I never felt comfortable in my skin until I said it. So Lucius was always there, but he didn't know him until recently. So when I refer to Lucius as a baby, I think of him as a girl, but I'm trying to retrain my mind as to say boy, because Lucius was always there. Lucius wasn't just like thought up on a whim. Lucius has been part of him from the beginning. And whether it be the tomboy part of him, because he was a tomboy growing up, whether it be that tomboy part of him or that part of him that didn't like the girly stuff, which he never did. So it was always, looking back, it's not surprising. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so Lucius, but so I'm trying to retrain my brain to think Lucius is a baby. It's getting easier because it's been about a year. So it's getting easier.
I mean, if you're calling someone by, like, let's say a name, it's hard to retrain that. It is always interesting. Like, do you call them your daughter, like you were born, like, oh, I would give birth to a daughter? And because
I say kid, child, baby.
Yeah.
Use non-gender conforming terms. Use gender neutral terms, which I've gotten very good at. So you say they, them. They were not out publicly for a long time. Because quite frankly, I'm not interested in feedback from a lot of people that have no bearing on my life, on how I raised my child. So, it's not super public knowledge until now. And so, I want him to call the shots, and he's ready. So I'm letting him determine when to come out. And so, do I call him my daughter? Sometimes I slip up and say she, and I say daughter, and I quickly correct myself because I had 14 years of calling him her. I still have a tattoo with their name on me as Lily. So it's like, well, okay, what am I going to do with this now? So we're coming up with ideas on how to change this to Lucius or make it L, just call them L. So they like to be called just L too, so depending on their mood.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just a very interesting concept. Like, how do you navigate it? Because, like, for me, it's like the transgender world is new, and it's a very learning process. And then for you, it's personal because, like, I have in my notes that you seem to be a great mom and supporting mom, that someone is willing to come out to you, especially younger, and say, hey, I don't like this gender that was assigned. I want to be someone else. And it just shows that you're good supportive, that they're able to come to you and talk to you about it, and instead of being shunned away and
it's
going down a bad
path. It's like kids are more, transgender children are more successful when they're supported by their family and by loved ones. And so I want him to be as successful as he wants to be and be supported 100%. My husband is just as much, if not more, supportive than I am. So, we're both, kiddo, we want you to be happy. We want you to be whoever you are. And, the older I get, the more liberal I get, the more I see gender as more of a social construct and see how much we're all wrapped up in that. And that for these kids, a lot of it just doesn't matter, that they like to be fluid, that they, boys like to wear dresses and girls like to wear suits. And why not? Why do we have gendered toys and clothes and everything? And why shouldn't it be more fluid? I think it's great. So
so when you were raising your son, like, did you notice it any differently? I know you mentioned that he was a tomboy, but, like, did you notice anything different, or is it more like, oh, he just like more guy stuff? And
I wouldn't say different. We just raise them as them, and let him be who he wanted to be, because he was just fun. It was a fun. I didn't know. I was a new parent. There's no books for this. You just do the best you can do. And, so it's like he never liked dresses. He never really loved dressing up, and was never into like dolls or anything like that. More into like Legos and stuffed animals and animals in general. Never into sports really, more into computers, science, that sort of stuff. So it wasn't like gender, no. I mean, it was just there. I just always thought they were a cool kid and had fun interests and wanted them to be who they were. So I didn't put a lot of emphasis on, were you a boy or a girl?
So you didn't put him in a beauty pageant?
No. No. So I would be a hell of a stage mom. So I am not. Now, we did try dance when they were little. Well, yeah, when he was little, we tried dance. He hated it. So pulled him out of that quickly. So,
well, I mean, it makes sense if you're born a daughter or a son, you go what their sex is more towards. So like, if you have a son, you take them towards football, let's say, and then so
because we live in an incredibly gendered society.
Yeah, but like it seemed that you were more. Yes, it was on sex, but you also were just like you did one more toward their interests, and like you did it, but like you didn't force them to do it. You just said, "Oh, like my son doesn't like dresses. Like we're not going to buy a dress." Like you just kind of like, "Hey, this is something they don't want," and that's it.
It's like I like to wear pants and I like to be comfortable. Okay. Don't blame you. I do too. Yeah, I'm just, we're just doing our best. We're just trying to do what we can do and do the best by him. And so there's no real manual or directions for this, but I figure you can't go wrong with love and, support and love. And all their friends know that they're welcome here and loved here for who they are. They have some friends that don't feel comfortable being out at home, but feel comfortable here being out. So I am saying, well, do you want me to call you this in front of your mom, or what do you want me to be in front of your mom? So we're known as being those parents that they can be their whole selves at, which is kind of cool. I'm not going to lie, I like being that parent. So.
Yeah, I want to talk about, so like for me, if I had a daughter and it came to me as a son, I said, I want to be called this and such, I would just say, okay, like, what do you want me to call you and stuff? But you seem to have went the extra steps to, you mentioned it before, but like you went to get to see a doctor and such. Like, how did that, how did that help you out more? Like you went the extra steps that I would have taken.
I did research, and I let him lead the way too. I let him tell me what he wanted. So I said, well, let's go to the doctor and let's talk to the doctor about this and see what the doctor has to say. And I'm sure there's maybe somebody we can talk to, because there's options to look forward to going on testosterone, having top surgery was what they call it. So actually TikTok, of all places, has been incredible, because there's a huge LGBTQ community on TikTok, and they're really good at education. And so TikTok was a big help, believe it or not. And so, it was something that seemed right to do. I believe in science. I believe in doctors have usually a lot of the right answers. And so this is no different. So get them supported in all ways. I can support them as the parent, but they also need the medical support if they want to have surgery, if they want to go on testosterone and stuff like that needs to be overseen by a medical professional. So
it seemed that Luscious want to go not just being transgender, but also go the more with the testosterone route too. He wants to be more, I guess, submerged into the right sex.
Well, it'll help him be more masculine presenting, because right now he can pass, but he wants to be more than passing. He wants to look more masculine, and testosterone helps that because it'll drop the voice, fill them out a little bit. So it's just part of the journey.
Well, I'm not a parent, obviously, and I hope I don't have a kid somewhere in the world. But like, how do you divide from accepting your son, but also at an age? Because like when I was 16, like it's hard to make a decision as deep as a whole different sex. How do you be supportive of him, but also be cautious? Because like once you go down the testosterone route, kind of hard to, I
You can
guess.
stop. You can stop. It can be reversible. Yeah, which is things I never knew. I'm trusting him. And I'm trusting that he knows himself better than anybody. And whatever that comes of in 5 years, if he's like, oh no, I really am female, then we'll support him on switching back, but I really don't see that happening. So, but I'm letting him lead and I'm trusting him. That is a massive shift from when I was growing up, or maybe even from when you were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
My parents didn't trust me to do much when I was 16.
Exactly. So that's why.
Probably for good reason. No, I'm trusting him, and he's never shown us any reason not to. He's very open with us. We talk about a ton of stuff. He's very open and feels comfortable around us. We're accepting. And I think he knows he can come to us about stuff. So maybe that's why I'm not nervous about the transition. I'm not advocating for top surgery yet, because that is a huge step and they're not done growing.
So you do have some boundaries.
Absolutely. So, and it's more out of just physical. They're not done growing yet. And to do something as radical as top surgery is really scary, not only just to embark on that, but when you're not done growing, you might have to redo it in 2 years. So why go through it twice? Mm-hmm. So why not wait and do it right the first time? So, and I'm hoping in a couple of years, they'll perfect it even more and make it even better than what it is now. Because things change at lightning speed in, the medical community, as you probably know. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So you're saying
there are boundaries.
So you're doing changes now that's not life altering, and you're waiting for. I guess when he's 18, he can do whatever he wants, but
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but so I guess you're hoping that not at 18, but he'll make a better decision when he's older, just like learn more about himself, if that's a good way to put it, before making a life altering change, so he doesn't do like the surgery, for example, doesn't do it twice.
But if he does, that's his choice, If he does, he does, and that's something that he has to live with. But there are plenty of women out there who don't have chests too, so boobs don't make a gender. To be quite honest, they're just part of Indian, so it's like just part of him that he doesn't like right now. So it's very interesting, but it's more of who they are in here, more than anything. So the body is just a container.
He's definitely going the route to want to change the way he looks, and that's drastic for anyone. Like I don't think I could make that kind of decision at 16 years old to make such a life altering decision.
Yeah.
Because that's that's like a whole relearning in a way. Like you've been one person your whole life, and then now you're just like transforming into this newer person. And it's like, I don't know. It's just I'm just like I'm gonna be talking to him next, so I'm really curious to talk to him about it. Like I think
I think you'll be surprised. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. He's a neat kid.
I mean, well, I'm doing that as subjective, like a 15-year-old, and then you think of your 16-year-old self. Like I have like trouble like committing to a shirt, and it's like I don't know if I could have like the knowledge to make a whole decision that could affect my life, but you did seem to go a very good route to getting the doctrine and stuff, and maybe that helped him out make better decisions of like what's at risk and the knowledge of like his thought to help make his decision and stuff. So I'm really curious to talk to him about what's going through his head.
Before we embark on the top surgery too, there'll be regular therapy appointments to make sure he's ready. It's just like any major surgery. You want to make sure to have everything, all your ducks in a row. Yeah, but we're going to start T probably pretty soon. Or he is. I'm not, but I say we. He's going to start testosterone pretty soon. Right now he's on birth control hormone, but he's going to probably start T to stop, any more from starting. So, but that's who he wants to be. So, I have another friend who has a 7-year-old who recently came to her and said, "Mom, I'm a girl." And so, Yeah. So, but they've always let their child be gender fluid, and from a very early age, their child picked dresses and dolls and stuff. So, and loved drag shows. Oh my gosh, they took their child to a drag show that was at a mall, and oh my god, it was so neat because the child saw themselves portrayed. Like, oh my gosh, there's another person like me who loves dresses and stuff. And it was incredibly powerful. So representation is really important too. And so now her child at 7 came to her and said, I'm a girl. And they're raising her as a girl at 7 and dealing
That's
with all
so
of
crazy until like
so
even comprehend that you're a different
so
sex.
and it's more common than you would think. It is far more common. There's transgender people have always been with us. They always have. Now, a lot of them have been closeted because they were literally sought out and killed for being transgender back, especially, in the older generations, or they were suicidal. A lot of them, frankly, didn't live past 20 or 30 because they were suicidal, because they couldn't be who they truly are. So I am so proud of this generation of my child because they are authentic in who they are, where we didn't have that freedom to do that because of, social and societal pressures. So it's very, very cool to see this whole generation. I don't know how many 16-year-olds but they're fun. They're cool. They're just so out there and confident in themselves, which is really neat to see.
It's hard to say. I think the social media is a very I think you can surround yourself with like good things and bad things. It's kind of how you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Because like you just have to find the right people to be supportive of you.
Yep.
You could always be surrounded by like shitty people and always think,
Yeah.
like the world is shitty, but like you have to find the right group. Maybe you're not the right person to ask, but is there a way to know if someone's transgender, or maybe it's just a guy that likes wearing dresses, for example?
There are men who love just to cross dress, dress in more gender fluid ways and are happy being a man. So, it's just part of who people are. And is there a way to tell? Oh, it's up to the person. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But what's so different? This is where I understand. It's like women wear suits and never ever get looked at second for it, do they? I mean, go down to Wall Street. You see women in suits all the time, and nobody blinks twice. So why is it such a sin for a guy to wear a dress? It's so double standard, I read a story about a man who took his son to the playground. His son loved wearing dresses. And this particular day, his son was wearing like a Snow White dress from Disney. And he was so excited to be on the playground in this dress and show all his friends this dress. And there's this little girl, and this little girl goes, "Daddy," to her dad, and was like, "Why is that little boy wearing a dress?" And the dad looks at her and says, "Well, you're wearing pants, aren't you? What's the difference?" Shut that kid up right away. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. So that's, I'm like, as I grow older, like I said, more liberal, I just like take away the whole gender thing, take away all the boy clothes, girl clothes, let people wear what they want. Yes. Harry Styles looks great in a dress.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that. I don't think I never seen a guy that looked good in a dress. I know Harry Styles is a good-looking guy, but even he couldn't pull it off. So I'm against guys wearing dresses just because it doesn't look good at all. And he also showed a really ugly dress too. On top of that.
Okay, I'll give you that much.
Yeah,
but I've seen some men in some really pretty dresses, and they pull it off great. So.
Yeah, I did. I don't know what it is. I get what you're saying with the argument, but like, I never saw a guy in a dress and be like, "Dang, he's killing it." I don't know. It doesn't like. I think it matters more maybe because of a woman's anatomy that makes the dress look better than a man's.
The curves. Maybe if a dress was built for a man, it would look better.
I think that's what like helps me make the dress look better.
So I saw a man who made a like non-gender conforming dress and wore it, and it was amazing. because I was fitted for him, and he looked great. So, it's just, like I said, I'm like a rainbow hippie with a mohawk that just love everybody and let everybody be who they want to be, and wear what they want to wear. They're just clothes.
I mean, your decision really doesn't affect really anyone at all, and you're
Nope.
not. And it's not like you're a bad person at all. It's just maybe differently, but your actions or even Lux's action really doesn't affect anyone else. It doesn't.
Exactly.
It really doesn't change anything.
Right.
He's still a person, you're still a person, and just to be they did want to be called something different, but it doesn't really affect. At the end of the day, it doesn't really affect much.
Yep. Just lead with love. Love them for who they are.
So one more question. So is he legally a boy now?
Legally a girl. Because we have not done the name change yet. So legally they're still Lily. Mm-hmm. Legally they're still, female. So on the medical stuff. So, but what we do is, or on their gender, I believe on their driver's license is X. Now in Minnesota, you can, because I live in Minnesota, you can have male, female, or X as your gender on your driver's license. And I believe they put X. So, but medically, they still medically present as female, biologically present as female. So yeah, that's something that you have to deal with.
Are there steps you take to when someone comes out as transgender, little baby steps to go fully into the male gender?
It's different for everybody. It's usually they want you to live as male presenting for a year, and then they'll start the medical intervention. But I believe it's different for every person in every state. So it just depends every situation. Some kids want to be male presenting, but don't feel comfortable doing it at home. So only do it at school, or female presenting, or only are female at their friend's house, but not at home. So, it's different. Teens are different, because they're under the rule of their parents. But when you're 18 and older and out on your own, it's a very personal journey. It's however anybody wants to navigate it, like anything else. It's whatever they're comfortable with and whatever they want to do. So what's right for us isn't going to be right for, the next kid that comes out as transgender. Their family might navigate it differently. Yeah. So that was a real concrete way to avoid what you just asked. But that's how we're navigating it, is what's right for us isn't going to be right for anybody else.
So what would you say would be the first step so a kid comes to you and says, I am transgender? What would be your first tip to do to help the kid?
Ask them what their preferred pronouns are. I actually asked this of all my kids' friends. What are your preferred pronouns in this house? Because some prefer they, them, he, him, she, her. There's another one called czar and zer or something like that. But none of them identifies that. So the first thing I do is I ask the kid's pronoun, but I would encourage parents to learn as much as they can about your child and love them. And medically, just because you want to have a partner through this, guiding you through the right thing. So we, like I said, talked to our doctor, pediatrician, and she was totally cool. She's like, all right, the medical system we go through has a very robust transgender and sexual orientation program, which is cool. So our doctor was very instrumental in getting us to the right people, the right psychiatrists, the right doctors, the right psychologists in order to move forward with each step. So we right away met with a medical sexual gender specialist who actually specializes in sexual identity and gender identity. So Lucius met with him and it went great. And so we were able to they were able to talk things out. I wasn't involved in that because that's personal between them. And he was able to determine next steps. And that was just kind of hang out for a while and live as a boy for a while and see how it was. And then when he felt more comfortable, we would go move forward. So yeah, just get the medical team involved with you and partner with somebody to make sure you're doing the right thing, and trust your kid that they know what's best. Yeah, I think that's what parents forget.
I get what you're getting from. I think it also depends on your relationship with your child too. You guys seem to be very close and open.
We are.
And yeah. I think that would help the most out of all things, because if he's not wanting to have a conversation with you, it would make your life harder, but also make his life harder, and he might make more drastic changes.
I've read this. I've read the statistics on kids who aren't supported, and I'm not okay with my kid offing in themselves. I want my kid to be around, boy, girl, neither or both. I want my kid around and I want them happy. And I will do whatever it takes to support them, no matter what it takes. So if they are happy being Lucius and being a boy, I am all for it. Losing them is not an option. I almost lost my life as it was. And I'm going to cry because it's so important. I almost lost him once when I was sick because I was going to die. So the thought of losing him to something that I can help with is just, sorry to get so emotional, but I see too many kids hiding who they are and their parents kicking them out on the streets with no place to go. And that's when you end up being a drug addict and losing your way. So I won't let that happen to my kid. So leading with love, supporting them. And it sounds very Pollyanna, but I've seen the power of the difference between supporting a transgender child and not supporting them. I know the difference. I've seen it. And so not supporting them is not an option. So sorry I got so emotional, but it's a very personal, emotional thing, you know?
No, it just seems, just from my research alone and talking to you for the past hour and a half, that you seem to be very supportive, and it's just great to see it. A lot of it, because I think it definitely will help. It would definitely help Luscious grow into a full human being, happy, and be able to be his authentic self. And I think that's,
and whoever that is. And if they decide in 5 years that it's somebody else, then I'll help them.
Yeah.
Move into that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I think it's harder and harder to find authenticity in the world, just because of, I guess, being afraid of who you are. And then so I think the biggest thing is who you're surrounded with. If you're not comfortable around whoever you're with, you're never your full self. But I think some people, it's easier to be with people that kind of like you versus just being alone.
You know, in this last 18 to 20 months over the pandemic, these kids were isolated. You know, they couldn't go to school. They all of a sudden got pulled out of their schools. And so all what they had was interaction online or virtual interaction. And so a lot of kids were really able, without the peer pressure of school and the peer pressure of being in these groups and stuff at school, were able to realize Lucius had a few friends come out as either non-binary or transgender over this pandemic, which I thought was really interesting because they don't have the societal pressure like they had at school, which I find, like I said, fascinating that happened. So, and I don't know if that's why, because they were able to really spend time alone to figure out who they were or what. I don't know.
I definitely have to agree with you. I think that's a pretty big thing, that there's now societal pressure, that they're comfortable in themselves, and I guess they can kind of limit who they're surrounded with, because if I don't like you, you know, I can just end the call and never see you again.
Please don't. I like you.
Yeah, I like it too, but it's yeah. So it's like, now I do see it. I think more people are confident in themselves and more just in tune with themselves, and when they do come out, not come out like transgender, but they come out like into the world again, that they're going to continue to do themselves. But I'm just afraid that the people who are themselves, but when they go out into the world again and surrounded by people, they might succumb to the societal pressure again and become more closeted. And
I don't know.
It takes a lot of strength to be yourself, especially if you're a little bit different. And I
Aren't we all a little bit different though?
Yeah, but like some have the strength to keep fighting it, and then some just succumb to the pressure and just blend in more. So it takes a lot of strength. So it's interesting to see what will happen in the future, but I do definitely see more people being more themselves and more. But I don't know. Well, he's only 16, so a whole different age group than I am at 28. But like 28, I feel more confident with myself and more just, you deal with like bullshit now than you do when you were 16. So
wait till you're 50. At 50, you just don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, it is weird how we're all in our own different time of our lives.
Yeah.
And I'm super pumped to talk to him about it because I know his growing up is drastically different when I was growing up, and it was drastically different when you were growing up.
Yeah.
And it's like
when I was 28, I changed my whole life. So 28 was like an awesome year. So I'm excited for you because 28 was fun. 28, I was married to my ex-husband. And I woke up one day, I was like, I hate this life. I went to New York City actually for a haircutting class and like realized what a beautiful, incredible world there was out there. Because New York is just amazing. It's got its own life, its own energy.
Oh, yeah. I live here.
Yeah, I know. And so it's like I went to New York for this haircutting class on Fifth Avenue and just was in awe of the city. Yeah, I just loved it. And stayed at some dive hotel and had a blast. And I literally like came alive that week. Like something woke up in me, like there's a bigger, better life. I lived in a small town in Wyoming, for God's sake.
Wow.
And I came home and I looked at my ex-husband's like, this isn't working. I can't live here anymore. And so at 28, I divorced him and I up and moved to Minneapolis on my own. I literally threw a dart at a map and said I move into the next biggest city that this dart lands next to, and I was close to Minneapolis.
Okay.
So it's like I'm moving wherever this dart lands. And I was secretly hoping for Denver, but I guess my aim was off. I hit Minneapolis. So I ended up in Minneapolis, and it's been the best move. So I'm excited for your 28th year and 29th year because it was huge change. Like, I kind of woke up and was like, oh, there's life to live. There's like a whole nother like big thing out there. And so 30s were awesome.
Wait, so how old were you when you were diagnosed with cancer?
I was 36. I was young.
So would you say you had like a rebirth of a rebirth when you were like, like when you found out that you were like going to live and stuff? Like, did you have another rebirth almost?
Almost. Yeah. You have a different appreciation for like, so when I was 28 and said, screw this, I'm going to live life on my own terms and moved out here on a whim. Was a different type of reawakening. It's like that was the first time it's like ballsy about me. Sure. And my mom thought I was crazy. My dad was like, go for it.
I think you're a little crazy, but okay.
I am. I'm a lot crazy, and I'm totally okay with that.
You need to tone it down for the podcast.
I'm sorry. So no. And so when I was diagnosed with cancer, and going through that, and I suppose you understand this too, when you're diagnosed with the disease, you can have one of two attitudes: poor me and be the victim, or you can be like, oh, screw this, I got one life to live, I'm going to do what I can. And I've seen some of the things that you do because I did my research too. But you don't just sit in your apartment and let life pass you by. You're out there going to concerts and you're navigating the city. And I have another friend who has spina bifida. So I find it interesting all your posts about wheelchair accessibility, because Thomas started a whole thing about wheelchair accessibility in the Twin Cities and how difficult it is to get around. So so it's just, I digress. So it was a rebirth of a rebirth. I look at things vastly different than I did when I was 28. I kind of just don't care anymore and have fun and enjoy life. My friendships, I have fewer friends, I would say, than I did before, but they're tighter and they're closer, because I know they're really for me. Because when I got sick, everybody who I thought was my friend, poof, they were gone. I lost my business, which, hurt more than anything, almost more than the cancer. And I realized that the people who are there for you through thick and thin are never who you think they will be. And it really made me research my heart, who was important to me, what I care about, and what I'm going to lend my energies to. So it was definitely a reawakening of who I am and what I want out of life.
Yeah, like one of the things I always say in my mind is some people that haven't gone through it don't agree with me, but I think everyone should always have a really dark moment in their lives. And that makes you reevaluate a lot of things. Like one, it could be your life, and then another is like your friend. You find out who your real friends are and such, and then like you kind of like reset on your life, and you kind of put more energy into things that you love. So like you mentioned the friends, and like for me, I didn't really have a lot of friends, but like I definitely knew who not to put my energy in anymore when I was better now, and I don't anymore. I'm also way past like there are people that have cared about a lot and like show my caringness for them, but they never reciprocated. And like maybe before I would have continued it, but like now I just tell them like this isn't working anymore. Like I don't feel treated the same way as I treated you, and it's like not fair to me. And then they kind of put it back at me, and it's like, this is how I treat my other people. And I'm like, this is not a good way to treat people. Like, you know, like if you're happy with your other friendships, awesome. But like, I can't do this anymore. And it just sucks though, because you're more alone in life. But I guess at the same time, you're only putting energy toward people that, you know, you actually like you and you like them, or at least they tolerate you.
Well, I think it's been cool too being part of the patient community, the patient advocacy community, because don't you find that, you know, when you meet other patient advocates, no matter what disease it is, no matter what you deal with, whether it be cancer or whether it be, you know, the FOP, we understand, you know, the hardships and the fleeting, like you said, I'm not going to put my energies into these friendships if I'm not going to get it back, because we all understand that. And I think as advocates, we all kind of have that in common, and we know, and so we recognize that in one another and can kind of lean on one another that way. At least I've been that way with, you know, the other advocates.
Yeah, what I like about the rare community or the disease community in general, there's like a mutual understanding among everyone. You don't really have to like explain much. Like, yeah, we have totally different diseases and such. And there'll definitely be things like would never ever be able to understand, like let's say getting chemo or getting a lung removed. But like there's a mutual understanding on like deep levels that I want to say that very few people will understand. And like we don't have to explain ourselves to each other. Like we just know and then we also know how to help too. So So it's like a lot easier to, let's say, open up to you versus a regular person that never really had a severe hardship like we had in our lives.
Well, I have to commend you for doing this podcast and opening yourself up like that, because it's not easy. And doing this has probably really had you reaching into yourself too and exposing parts of you that you were never really comfortable with. So kudos to you for doing this.
But it's also really cool. Like I'm meeting like a lot of great people, and like if I didn't have the podcast, people I've never met at all.
Yeah.
Or like if I never like asked you to do the podcast, you know, we would just never even interact with each other at all. Like we didn't have a reason to talk to each other. And so like for me, it's like we're meeting new people, and like I think we'll have a great person. And if you're comfortable, I'd like to be friends with you in the future.
That's awesome.
Continue this.
Yeah.
Great thing.
That's awesome. Going. That's awesome. I love it. And that's what, to me, the rare disease community, it's just been a whole nother outlet of friendships and people that I so admire and so love. So it's been very cool. And just meeting has been right up there. Yeah. So thank you for reaching out to me. I really appreciate it.
Before I take the mic away from you, is there anything you want to add or promote or any closing thoughts?
You know, I'm on all social media if you want to find me. And if you have questions about mesothelioma, if your loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, reach out to me. I can help walk you through it and get you really good resources.
So you can get financially compensated.
Yeah. Not only that, but that's not what it's about. It's more about the right medical care and the specialists and the support from the mesothelioma community to help you have the best outcome. So it's not about the money, you know, nobody gets rich, unfortunately, off of it. It's very sad, but you know, it's about taking care of one another and taking care of other people and offering hope. So that's what I do. That's what I try to do.
From the hour-and-a-half podcast, Heather knows her shit about mesothelioma, so definitely contact her. All her information will be in the description below. Thank you for everybody for listening and watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.